Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to keep a promise to someone else than it is to keep one to yourself? You tell yourself you'll start going to the gym on Monday. Monday comes and something comes up. You'll eat healthier next week. You'll finally prioritize yourself. You'll get back into a routine. But then life gets busy. Maybe the problem isn't lack of motivation. Maybe it's that we're trying to do it alone. Whether it's fitness, business, relationships, or simply getting through a difficult season, having people in your corner can make all the difference. Someone who notices you when you don't show up. Someone who encourages you when you feel like quitting. Someone who reminds you why you started in the first place. Today's guest has seen that happen every single day. Dave Rafuse is the owner of Blended Athletics in Dartmouth and the creator of Train With Us, a platform built on a simple but powerful idea. People aren't just looking for a workout, they're looking for a place to belong. Today we're talking about loneliness, accountability, confidence, and why community may be one of the most overlooked pillars of health. Dave, welcome to Joy of the Hang.
Thanks, Sharon. I'm so excited to chat with you. I mean, I feel like it's not often I've gotten an opportunity to chat with someone about something that I'm just become so passionate about and with someone else who is so passionate about the same topic. It's great.
I am, and part of my history is that I did bodybuilding competitions for a few years, so I've done that. I'm also a health and wellness coach, so I'm excited to talk to you too and hear, kind of how you've solved the problem of people giving up, because let's face it, a lot of people start and it's hard to keep going. I've had those seasons too. So before we start talking about all that though, tell me about your story. Who is Dave Rafuse? Am I saying your last name right?
Yeah, it'd be pronounced Rafuse, but
Rafuse. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
The story, I mean, there's no amazing transformation or anything like that. It's an interesting one because I feel very lucky to have grown up in the 80s with parents who valued fitness and siblings. We played sports. There's 4 of us and we played sports. We exercised. Like that was just a part of our lifestyle. We sat down for family dinners. Like I was on my way into the gym this morning and the radio here in Nova Scotia, they were talking about how 50% of teenagers wish that they were having more family dinners. And in my mind, I was just like, no one does that anymore. And I grew up in a family who fortunately, those values of sitting down for a family dinner, it was just what we came to expect. And so, I mean, long story short, I grew up in entrepreneurship, that was in my blood. I grew up in the gym. I got my first gym membership when I was 13 years old. I grew up coaching. I started coaching a competitive swim team when I was 16. And I went to school. I did a kinesiology degree and my wife and I opened our first gym 13 years ago. So my life has in every way evolved, but it has evolved like within some component of fitness and health since as long as I can remember. I mean, I remember being a kid doing arm wrestling competitions and push-up competitions in the living room and with like the family. And it's just like, I just thought that was normal.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the family dinners because I actually was walking with a girlfriend this morning and she teaches part-time at a local elementary school. And so she had a meeting this afternoon for their Head Start program. And the meeting was about how to teach children to sit and share a meal. And I thought, what? What do you mean you've got to teach? And she goes, no, because she teaches in an underprivileged neighborhood. And she said, you don't understand. She goes, they're used to eating out of a cardboard box, or they're eating pizza with their hands, or they don't know how to sit and grab a plate and do the whole, all of that. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. And she goes, no, they might eat something out of a bowl of cereal in front of the TV while they're watching television, but they're not having family dinners, to your point. There's not. And it's worse and it's harder in some areas, I guess, than others. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that, I mean, now I feel very privileged to have been able to grow up in that, especially going out for like a very fancy dinner. And I find I'll sit down with friends at a nice restaurant and everyone's looking around. They're like, which one's my water and which one's your bread? And I'm like, BMW, like bread's on your left, meal's in front of you and water's on your right. And they're like, BMW. Okay. I'm like, my grandmother taught me that. I was like, not everyone knows these things.
Not anymore. I
Not
know.
anymore,
We've
no.
even fallen into the habit most nights because it's just the two of us right now, just sitting in front of the TV. And I mean, I make a nice meal every night, but we have it on the couch. We're not sitting at the table doing it. So, but I miss those, the Sunday family dinners where everybody would come and make a big meal and talk about your week. But anyway, what led you to open Blended Athletics?
Again, just the combination of growing up in an entrepreneurial family. I knew that, I got into the corporate world. So I was doing pharmaceutical sales for about 5 years. And I always knew that I wanted to eventually open up my own business. And funny enough, I mean, now 13 years later, I look back and like at the end of the day, business is business. We've started and sold a digital marketing company. We started a tech company. So fitness has been like a passion project for my whole life. And it was very much my very first business. But at the time, I thought starting a gym was going to be the easiest venture of every business that I would open. And I mean, now looking back, I very much underestimated how challenging a service-based business like a gym or a restaurant really is, because there's so many other factors that come into play, which is really why, we ended up vertically integrating and creating an app called Train With Us and diving so much into the community side of things and how to create belonging and connection within, our environment.
So what happened that made you realize that was a missing piece?
Initially, we were young and dumb, and we were 25, 26 when we opened up the gym. And people would walk in and they'd join the gym and they'd be like, Dave, Kimberly, you've created such an amazing community here. And I'd just be like, yeah, we have. Like, it's so great. And then eventually, as I got older and smarter, I was like, we didn't do anything to create this community. Like, whatever happened just happened unintentionally. Like, there was no necessarily structure or purpose behind what we were doing that created that community. And then as we grew, we started the gym at $0. Like, it's not like we bought into a gym or anything like that. Like, we opened the doors. So our revenue on day one was $0, and we've grown it to a $2 million a year business. And for a boutique gym, one location, that is probably on the higher side of most single location facilities. And I mean, there were all kinds of speed bumps along the way. But the one thing that we started realizing, especially when we got to about the $1 million mark, was we needed to figure out a way to systemize or create infrastructure around building community. And I mean, there were a ton of things we did and still do, obviously, that, are very important components to it. For example, one that oftentimes goes overlooked is if you're a physical location, then you need to create spaces within your gym that allow people to connect. So like in our lobby, we have a coffee bar, we have couches, chairs, tables. When it's summer outside, like it is now, we have tables and chairs outside. We even have a seating area that is in our bathrooms, which are co-ed bathrooms. And there's a seating area for people to hang out. And when you go up there in the morning classes and everyone's getting ready, it's like people are sitting there with coffee, chatting and talking about like what's going on for the day or what happened last night and things like that. And you need to create these spaces for people to be able to create connection. And so, there are so many factors that come into it, but that's a great example on where to start, I'd say.
Okay. You caught me at, you have co-ed bathrooms. So how does that work?
Well, so it's a co-ed communal area of like, there's mirrors and hair dryers and sinks like where people can kind of like do their hair and put on their makeup and stuff like that. But these stalls and showers and bathrooms, they're like full, like you have your own space. You walk in and you've got like your own bathroom shower area where you change. That is like a room of its own. But yes.
Yeah.
We call it a co-ed bathroom, yes.
Okay, well, thanks for clarifying, because I go into the locker room at my gym and usually the women are standing around naked. So yeah. I was like, okay, that's going to be...
And we have to very clearly state to people as we're giving them a tour of the facility initially is like, we're about to walk into a co-ed bathroom and this space here is not a space where you'll like get changed or anything. Like you're going to go into these stalls to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little private area. Yeah. Good,
yeah.
Good. I was like, yeah. Not getting much workout done there.
It's just in Canada. Yeah. A very Canadian thing of us.
I don't know about that community. Oh gosh, no wonder people want to come to your gym. So anyway, tell me, you've owned a gym for 13 years. How have you seen the fitness industry evolve in the last 13 years?
I mean, I think the whole world evolved in 2020.
Yeah, well,
And initially, what has panned out is interesting over the last 6 years. Initially, when 2020 hit, I think from a fitness perspective, the industry, everything went online. And I mean, I always say I'm a businessman at heart. So you look at where the money's going, and during those first couple of years of COVID, you had all of the online platforms were blowing up. You had Peloton was blowing up, like the coaching apps were blowing up, like money was being funneled into these sectors. And so for a few years, I think everyone thought that the future of fitness was going to be very online biased because people had invested in home gyms and they've invested in all these things. The reality of what we've seen in the last 3 years is the complete opposite. It was members coming back through the doors being like, I've been working out at home for a couple of years, but like, I'm just missing something. Like it's my gym has just become like a laundry room where I'm like hanging my clothes up and I'm not getting the workouts in, or it's not the same as it used to be, or I'm working from home and the only time I chat with people, is on Zoom and I'm just tired of being on a screen. And so what we found is that the opposite has happened in the industry in the last, 3-4 years since 2022 really is people actually went online for a couple of years and they're like, this is a thing. And it still exists today in some format. But a lot of people, the best hour of their day is actually going to a gym because for that 1 hour, they aren't interrupted by work. They're not interrupted by their kids or their family or other obligations. And they get to walk through those doors. And for the next hour, they just get to focus on themselves. And for a lot of people, that's the only hour of their day where they're actually creating real human to human connections and having conversations. And I think that's become a really, really important part of our day-to-day lives over the last couple of years.
So I want you to talk to that person though, who, like I said in the intro, will say, okay, I want to start this. I want to now go to the gym for the first time, but yet they walk in. How do you retain that person? How do you keep that person coming back from day one?
Yeah, let's start first by addressing the elephant in the room. I've, as you know, have been in the industry for pretty much my entire life. And my wife and I have the opportunity to travel, to speak at conferences and stuff. A lot. So we spend a lot of time in hotels, which means I get the opportunity to visit gyms all around the world. And to this day, as a gym owner who spent his entire life in a gym, when I walk into someone else's gym, I am terribly uncomfortable. And I don't know where the equipment is. I don't know people's names. I don't know the rules or the terminology. I mean, some of the things that our coaches call certain movements here, other coaches in other areas of the world say something different. And it's just like this very intimidating space. And I always think to myself, and I say this openly to people when I meet them for the first time and it's their first day in the gym. I'm like, if that's the way I feel today going into someone else's gym, I can only imagine the way that you feel walking into my gym. So the fact that people feel that way is totally normal because I feel that still today.
Yeah.
With regards to retention, it starts on day one. And, one of the things that we've leaned into at Blended is before you join the gym, you are coming in and you're doing a consult. It's not a workout. You're not coming into a first class free. You're not coming in and jumping into the gym. You're actually coming in and you're essentially being interviewed to see whether or not we're the right space for you. And I think that this is something that the app is going to change for the fitness industry in the future when we hit scale and we've essentially got the platform across Canada and the US and other countries. Is unfortunately the reality of the industry is someone's going to walk into a gym. They're going to have the experience that they're going to have. And if that experience wasn't what they were looking for at the time, they're going to walk out and they're going to say, fitness is not for me. The gym is not for me. The reality of it is I have a beautiful gym and we do a very good job at what we do. And our gym is not for some people. And so when I say we interview people, we're not interviewing you to be, very pompous or like exclusive. We're interviewing you to tell you that we're maybe not the right fit, but you know what? this gym down the street, you should go chat with them. And I do that for two reasons. One is retention's really important for us. And if I have the wrong client avatar walking my gym, the first 3 months of their membership, I, as a gym owner, am not making money off of that. I mean, the amount of effort that my coaching team puts forth in those initial 3 months to onboard a client and the additional attention that's needed and the support that's needed is like, I'm not really making much money off of a client in their initial 3 months. And two is, if that's the case and they leave after 3 months, is like, I might as well just told them where to go to begin with, especially during that interview if it's very clear that they're not our ideal client. So I wish the entire industry functioned like that and it guided people towards what would be a community that is more appropriate for every single individual. So as I was saying, the Train With Us app, that's one of the features that's in there. It'll actually, based on your profile, tell you which communities in your area are the highest ranking. So you might get a ranking where it's like blended athletics. You are a 98% fit for blended. Now that fit may be for a number of reasons. It can be the fact that our average member's 43. And if you come into my gym and you're 22 years old and you're looking for functional fitness, I'm actually going to be like, you should check out CrossFit Ironstone down the street. Their average member is 25 years old. They do functional fitness, which is what you're looking for, but you're way more likely to find friends, find your community, find your space if you go there than if you come here. So based on your age, the time of the day that you work out, all of those things come into play when you are trying to determine whether or not you're the right fit. And what the app does is it does the work for you. Two of our salespeople, Kimberly and Sebastian, we call them matchmakers. And so it's weird. Co-ed bathroom matchmakers. I'm really losing you on this, aren't I? But their whole role when they sit down and they go through that interview process, depending on what the person's looking for, if they're looking to do personal training as an example, we want to match them with the right personal trainer, and not just with regards to how they want to train. So maybe they want to put on muscle, or they want to lose weight, or they've been struggling with injuries and they want to work with a coach that's, really good with rehabilitation. Those are important. But if you match me with a coach who loves comic books and action figures and TV and movies, I don't have anything to relate with them on. But if you match me with a coach that loves business and that loves sports, immediately I'm going to have a connection, and our relationship's just going to be significantly better than the relationship that if you match me with the wrong setup. And so trainers, coaches, classes, I think that that's a really important part of that initial onboarding piece to ensure that you are going to keep a client happy and for a long time.
But that's a good point. Having the right trainer, if you're picking a trainer, is crucial. It's no different than picking your doctor, your lawyer, your hairdresser. I mean, it's so true. You've got to be able to look forward to seeing them, to trust them, to trust they know what they're doing. Yeah, I've worked with some trainers that I loved and other trainers that I just didn't have that chemistry with. And you sign the 6-month contract and you're out all this money and you're showing up and just not getting what you had hoped or getting the results that you want with this particular person. But ultimately, it's up to you to do the work, but you want to know that you're in the right hands, right?
Well, and I mean, that's a good point. I mean, it's up to you to do the work. But what we both know is that if I can get a member to stick around for 6 or 12 months, they're going to have success. If you show up to a gym and you surround yourself with fit people who talk about nutrition and they talk about hydration, they talk about recovery, you just put yourself in that environment for 6 to 12 months. I don't care what, you might know nothing and you are still going to see results. Yeah. But if you quit in 6 weeks or 12 weeks, you might not see results. And you're like, that's not for me. And you're like, you just happen to walk through the wrong set of doors. And if anyone's out there and they're like, that rings a bell for me, it's like, you've got to go out and you've got to try to find that next community, because there is a community of people out there that exercise and do something. I mean, I'm not romantic about the style of fitness too. You like yoga, Pilates, spin, functional fitness. You like Zumba. Yeah. I'm like, get out there, surround yourself with people who like the same things you like, and enjoy movement, and it is going to vastly improve your life.
No, you're 100% correct. I think that's why Orange Theory is so successful, and some of these large franchise gyms, because they create, you're going to see the same people at the same time at the same classes. You know what to expect when you walk in. You get in your 45 minutes or your hour and you're out, right? So yeah, I think, and my gym is that way too. We have the same group of people that are there every single day at 8 a.m. We're all there. And if someone's not there, they're like, wait, where have you been? What's going on with you? I heard you weren't feeling well, So there is that camaraderie that happens. I do have to say, though, this gym that in Florida does not have the coffee bar. And the one I was a member of back home in Maine did. And I loved it. And it was great because the nice thing about it was, I think I was single at the time and would work out like I said, I see the same people every day. And there was this older gentleman, probably 75, 80, right? And we ended up becoming really good friends. And after our workout, every single day, we'd sit and have coffee every day. I'd make sure I set aside at least 15 or 20 minutes that I could sit with him and we could have our little coffee chat.
It's something that we say to our team all the time. Our goal is to keep members in the gym for 20 to 25 minutes after they're done working out.
Yeah.
That's just like our goal, because if we can do that, they're more likely to have conversation. It's funny is like people often ask me, they're like, what's the thing that you're most proud of after 13 years of owning a gym? And they're oftentimes, I feel like they're looking for these like crazy transformation stories and things like that, which it's not like I'm actually, it's amazing when someone has a huge transformation that changes their life. But there's two things that I'm most impressed by people who have not made any change for 10 years because they have maintained their fitness at like a really high level. And let's say, we'll use myself as an example, you're 185 pounds and 15% body fat, and you maintain that for 10 years. I'm like, that to me is really impressive. You going from 185 to 225, back to 185, back to 225, back to 185, 3 or 4 times in 10 years. It's like, good for you. Like, great. Like that you've jumped back on the wagon, and unfortunately you fell off and so on and so forth. It's like, what's really impressive is the people that maintain it. Now, what's made me most proud about the gym is that in 13 years, we've had 12 people meet and get married.
Oh, that's cool.
And we have countless others that have met and started dating and just haven't gotten married yet. And then we call them blended babies. For all the people who have gotten married because they met at blended and then they've had babies, those are our blended babies. So
I'm telling you, it's those co-ed bathrooms.
I am setting myself up here, aren't I?
It's brilliant. No, it's brilliant. I love it. So you said earlier in our conversation that opening a gym was more challenging than you expected. What's challenging about it?
Yeah, there's so many other factors that go into play. And I think that this is why opening a restaurant is so challenging as well, is like you've got staffing, but you've got customer relations. And I realize that in like technology as an example, you have your customer support aspect and so on and so forth. But the ability to create an experience within a facility, that is something that you have to always be on. Like it's that one bad experience that creates a Google review, right? For 23 hours of the day, everything might be great. And then one thing happens and all of a sudden you get a bad Google review, right? And so the challenge is, and I often reference this as, and I might be dating myself, but like Seinfeld is a great example, or Jimmy Kimmel's a great example. I'm sure Jimmy Kimmel has had plenty of bad days in his life, but when you watch him every night on TV, you would never know. And so for my staff, I'm like, listen, guys, when you're with clients, when you're on the gym floor, when you're in the lobby or the common spaces, like you have to be on. Like if you're going through a breakup or your dog died or, someone close to you is in the hospital or whatever is going on in your life, you can come into the office and you can sit down and we can talk about it together in the office. But like when you go back out on the gym floor, you've got to be Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to go out and you've got to be able to perform, because all of our members are expecting their best hour of their day. And unfortunately, our members have bad days. They've got issues at work or with their kids or with their family. And it's the only hour of their day where they get to escape all of that. And if they come to a place of work, like the gym, and they're dealing with someone else's problem during a class, it's like the last thing that they want to do. And so as a coach or a staff member, anyone in the industry working this industry, it's like you need to always be on.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah. That is hard.
It is.
And I think it's challenging too, because I don't know, oftentimes my trainers become my therapist. So it's my hour a day where, just like my hairdresser, I can just
but I mean,
vent a little bit, right?
That's a good reference. Is like your coach might be your therapist, but as a coach, your client is never your therapist.
Right.
Right. And that's what's hard. It's like sometimes you just want someone else to listen to you, and you spend 8 hours of your day listening to everybody else. And so you got to go home with that. And I mean, that's why I think that the team that, like, if you're a coach and you're looking for your own community, a place to work at, is like your team better be a team that you get along with. Like, they also better be your people. If it's a space, so just as much for a member going in and finding a gym, if you're in the industry and you're a trainer or a coach and you're looking for work, you better be going to a place of work where you're like, these are my people. I can relate with them. If I'm having a bad day, I can sit down with them and I can tell them and they'll listen to me.
So what do you think the goal is for most people that join a gym? Is it community? Is it weight loss? Is it a combination of several things? Everyone has their own different goals, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think initially most people are going in with a physical goal. I mean, I don't think it matters where you are on your journey. You always just want a little better. And so whether it's you losing your first 25 pounds, or you're just trying to like tighten up and lose that last 5 pounds, or you're trying to put on some more muscle, like no matter where you are on your journey, there's better. And I think that's healthy for the most part. I think that like wanting more is just like probably a commonality across most human beings. And so when they go into the gym, I think initially a lot of people are like, I want to lose, we'll use 25 pounds as an example. The reality of society today, and the US Surgeon General made a public health announcement saying that it was like 35% of Americans are unhappy all of the time. So like loneliness is a public health crisis now. And when you look at those stats, I think that although people are looking to make a physical change, more often than not, that's connected to something. They want to lose 25 pounds because they just went through a bad breakup and they're not confident in going back out into the dating world. Mm-hmm. Or they moved across the country and they, don't really know how to walk up to people and interact with no digital connection. Whatever the reason is, I think that there's oftentimes more than one, and the ones that are most important are just not talked about.
Yeah. So Dave, I met my second husband at the gym, and we did not have co-ed bathrooms. I promise I'll let that go. So
but
do you go ahead.
It's a really easy place to meet people though. So like, when you're younger and, my generation, when you're 19, 20, 21 through to 25, like on Friday and Saturday night, you go to the bar. I actually think the younger generations, we're seeing this move is like they're spending less time at the bar drinking alcohol, and you're seeing like coffee raves come up. You're seeing these like fun run clubs that are doing runs on Saturday night with like glow sticks and DJs. And I'm just like, this is what I love about it, is that it doesn't matter what your background is or, where you are in your journey, because once you fall into like a workout, no one's really watching you, even though you're like, that's what you're worried about. And you're like, oh, but like, what if someone sees me when I'm wherever you are on your journey, you're struggling. Like that's why you're working out. But when you do really hard things with people, there is a natural connection that happens. And I mean, because of that, I think that that's why we've had, so many members date or get married, become really good friends, do business together. I have watched people in our lobby do $500,000 like business deals after a workout. And it's just like, if you put this into a different perspective, is like, for me as a business person, if I'm in a room with someone that I just did a crazy hard something with, workout, hike, whatever it may be, anything that was hard, and someone that I have no relationships with at all, is like, who am I going to do business with? I mean, I know this person here works really hard. I've watched them do it. I've done hard with them. So if I'm going to do business with someone, I want to do some business with someone who's willing to do hard things.
Right.
Because if they'll do hard things, they'll do hard things for me.
Right.
And I mean, that makes it way easier for me to sign my money over and sign a check over to do a business deal.
Yeah, your story resonates with me so much because I entered the gym after it had been a few years, but it was after my divorce. And I didn't go while I was married because my ex-husband was very jealous and didn't want me to go to the gym. So he had a treadmill in the basement and I worked out at home. But I went back into the gym and remember feeling like very overwhelmed because I was like, all right, I don't know how to use half of this equipment. All these big muscle guys are out there on the floor doing their grunting and they're lifting heavy weights. And I, of course, gravitate towards the treadmill again, because that's what I know, right? And then I got brave enough to hire myself a trainer. Actually, I think he approached me because he was a new trainer in the gym and he was giving away some complimentary sessions because he's trying to build his book, right? So I worked out with him and got familiar with the equipment on the floor, got comfortable being around the muscle heads, because it's very intimidating. It is, especially when you're a female and you're not used to being in that environment. But I have to tell you, I feel like the gym rescued me. It became this place it was like a sanctuary of a place where, okay, I'm going to go put my little headphones in or not, talk to people if I want. But it's my time to do something that I didn't know I could do until I walked in these doors, right? And push myself further than I thought I could push. And you get to this place where, I would train in Maine to run my first half marathon in Florida. And I'm on the treadmill every day because it's in the winter, training to run my first half marathon. And when you finish the half marathon, you're kind of like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. And I put in the time and the work and went further than I ever thought I could, right? So there is this confidence building that happens when you're there, for sure.
Yeah, I think that the gym is a safe space. Those big, intimidating human beings that you see, they're also oftentimes the nicest people that you'll ever meet and are the first ones that would offer advice because they've gone through it. Like they've spent enough time in a gym that they've watched other people that have made those transformations. They've made the transformations themselves in some way or another. And I mean, it's a space where like more often than not, if you ask someone for a spot, they will most likely say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm 5'3", and so there's some equivalent that I'll tap someone on the shoulder and say, can you get that for me? Because I can't change
What a great icebreaker.
Yeah. Can you just get that for me? But anyway, no, I love it there. So is there a member's story who really resonates with you that you can share? Somebody that's either created, you already told me a lot of people got married, but is there someone that really sticks out in your 13 years that you're like, wow, this person really transformed or?
Yeah, I mean, there's too many to probably pick one.
Yeah.
I mean, one that obviously is close to me is about 12 years ago, like when we first opened. This person's gone through all of it. She came to me when she was 16 on a basketball team and she stood out. She was a natural athlete. And so she stood out within the team and I pulled her aside and I was like, look, what are you doing after basketball? Because fitness is definitely something that you should be looking into. And she joined the gym immediately after that. And she loved it so much that she ended up starting to coach when she turned 18. She got some certifications. She began coaching. She did that through her undergrad. That prompted her to end up doing naturopathic medicine. She met her husband at the gym. So she is one of those 12 who met their husband or significant other here. And she's pregnant with her first baby. After naturopathic medicine, doing school, she now practices as a doctor of naturopathic medicine out of our facility. So, I mean, she spent 12 years with me and I've watched her grow up from 16 to now into her late 20s and go through all of those phases of life and continue to work for me, now that she's heading into phase, 4, however you want to rank them. Yeah, there's countless interactions, but I would say that the one point I wanted to kind of make was people don't remember the transformations. They don't remember the competition. They don't we took 30 people down to Miami and did a high rocks race last year. And I bet if we interviewed those 30 people a year after we went, very few of them could give you really detailed experiences of the High Rocks race itself. I mean, yeah, they had a great time. They may remember their time, but what they remember is that the day after the race, we rented a couple yachts and we went out in the harbor or in the water and we spent a day eating, drinking, and swimming. And the night that we went to the beach and we had a couple drinks on the beach and watched the sunset, like it's these relationships that get built that become the memories that people have, not remember Sharon who lost 50 pounds? It's like, remember that time, Sharon, that we were here and we did this? It has nothing to do with like what happened in the gym or if someone hit a 500-pound deadlift or something like that. It's the story that always happens in and around it. And so for us, events become a big part of what we do because it's such a great way to provide opportunities, again, for people to connect.
I love that. I love that that you realize that people are feeling lonelier than ever, and you're trying to solve that problem with these events and connections. It's fabulous. How does Train With Us work with that? Is that, I know it's your new app. Yep. Is it available globally now? Where does that stand?
It is. So, I mean, really, it only makes sense if it's being adopted by your facility. So if you're a gym owner, or if you're not a gym owner and you want your gym owner to get involved, it's the infrastructure that sits behind the community. So it gives a gym owner the ability to create chat groups that we call micro communities. So my favorite example to this is like high school is a great example of micro communities. So in high school, there's the jocks, the chess club, the band club, like all of those represent micro communities. What's crazy is that during the 3 or 4 years that you're at high school, you create relationships that when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you get asked, like, do you have any friends from high school? The vast majority of people say yes. So, like, why was it that during 3 or 4 years when we were, 16, 17, 18 years old, we were able to create relationships that stayed with us for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Yet at 40 years old, it's really, really challenging to meet new people. The reason is that these micro communities that exist, they don't exist in a lot of our lives. I mean, I think the church is a really good example of community. And however you want to define religion, what is special about, and I'm not religious in that way, but what's special about church is that it's a space that people gather that are like-minded, that have a purpose, that have a belief. Like, I'm a big believer of what the church does in that regard of bringing people together and ideally doing better with, the world in that regard. And I think fitness industry has the ability to do the exact same thing. A gym is a spiritual place and can create those connections, can create those sense of purpose. I mean, we run charity events on a regular basis. We've raised, over $100,000 for brain cancer. We do biannually, we do different events for our local, food bank where we get money or gifts for kids around Christmas. Like, it's being a part of something bigger than just showing up and doing some bicep curls and hoping to lose 20 pounds. Because at the end of the day, if you show up with that being your primary goal, it's like that may give you your results. But what is really impressive is if you can maintain those results for 10 years. So wherever it is that you're going to do this, you better fall in love with it enough and be surrounded by people that you like enough that you're going to continue to do it 4 or 5 days a week for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
So if I understand it correctly, then the app is for gym owners to create community within their gym.
Yeah. So it's a space to be able to post events, and you can have, like, the event would have its own chat group, right? And so if you use Facebook community page, for example, and you have 500 members and you post out on the community page, all 500 members are going to see that post, which becomes very diluted because it becomes just like a giant, one giant feed. But like for us, we have like our running group. So of our 500 members, 200 of them are interested in running. So they join the running group. And then any post that's made in the running group, they get a notification about that workout on Thursday morning. Then, the group that's we took 30 people to High Rocks, Italy in May, and those 30 people were a part of chat group. And so that chat group could communicate about airplane tickets and hotels and renting the the catamaran that we rented the day after, and like everything that had to do with that. The other side to it is like, if you meet someone in the gym, and so like, let's say the two of us meet in a gym, most likely we're going to introduce ourselves. Hi, Sharon. I'm Dave. Dave, this is Sharon, so on and so forth. When I leave that gym, all I know is your first name. I can't, even if I do know your last name, I'm probably not going to be able to find you on Instagram.
Right.
But in Train With Us, because I'm a part of a community, after a class, I can go in and I can search for Sharon, and there might be 2 or 3 Sharons in the gym, but because I can really quickly glance at your profiles, I can send a direct message to the right Sharon and be like, hey, it was great working out with you today. I'm going back in tomorrow. You want to grab coffee after the lunchtime workout? And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. Or you can filter the membership based on activities. So I'm a golfer. And let's say I've got a tee time this weekend and we've got a spot open. I can just go into the membership, filter the membership to who plays or likes golf. And then all of a sudden I'll sit there and be like, Andy, like, I didn't know Andy golfed. Send Andy a message and be like, Andy, I've got a tee time this weekend. You should come out and play.
Yeah, I like that. We need that at our gym. That's cool. We really had that community. I did F45 for a little while down here, and they were really good about having that kind of community. And they used to do cookouts on the beach and different things where we could all gather outside of the gym. And I love that. We do not have it at this gym that I'm at now, but I think because it's a larger franchise type model.
Yep.
So the classes aren't small. You go in and it's, there's a lot of people on some days.
I think that those are sometimes where the areas that are the most important to find it. In a smaller community, it naturally creates itself. In a larger community, you need to create the infrastructure for it to be created. Yeah. And so within those larger classes, there are subcategories within those classes. And the question is like, we train our coaches on this, but if you're new to my class, let's say, and you've just come into Blended, my goal is to, find some information out about you and then introduce you to someone else. So if you walk into my class, I know you live in Florida, and I can sit there and be like, hey, Sharon, I want to introduce you to Kimberly. Kimberly, this is Sharon. She just moved here from Florida. Sharon, Kimberly actually, she vacations in Florida every winter for 3 months. And then as a coach, I walk away. Yeah. Right. But now the two of you chat, and within a couple minutes, all of a sudden you just learned, that you both have kids under 5 years old, and you just moved here and you're like, well, where do you do daycare? And it's like, let me send you the daycare that I go to. It's like those connections need to be facilitated. And part of the purpose of the app is to give gym owners the ability to actually do that. And so although the front end facing part of the app is very communications based with like event organization, the back side of it, all that data comes back through to the gym owner, and it'll show me specific connections and why they happen. And so if I launch a poll, let's say at the gym, and I'm like, what do you like better, running or long walks on the beach? And you write running, then later on, because that goes back into, we save that data on a database, it cycles through an LLM. We can sit there, and in a later date, we can send you an event to do with running because you answered a poll 2 months ago that talked about running.
I think that's great. I wish you luck with that. And you told me of a hard stop, and so I'm going to quickly talk to you all day, honestly, because we have so much in common. But we're going to get to the final hang. You ready? These are short answers.
Let's do it.
First one, if you could sit down with your 10-year-old self today, what would you tell him?
Just enjoy the experience. I would go back to 10 and do it all over again if I could.
I love it.
The good and the bad.
That's great. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's a tough one. I know I need to not think about this, but I would say that my mom is like my idol, and she is so smart when it comes to business. And she's always stated to me, she says, do what's right for the customer because the money will follow.
That's a good one. I like that. What's the best advice you've ever given someone?
I don't know if I've ever gotten the opportunity to give great advice yet. I'm still too young for that, Sharon.
I get some people.
I'm sure that I've shared tons. I don't know if I can. I'm not. My ego won't let me share that one for you.
What's something you believe today that you couldn't have understood 20 years ago?
How important connection is. I didn't understand that when I was younger. It's just something that, like I said, I think it happens naturally in the school system. But when you are older, it is really hard to find people, like your circle shrinks. And that circle, a small, strong circle, is the most important thing that I think anyone could have in their life.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, when you relocate to a different city after living in one place your whole life, the circle actually disappears. And so it is really difficult to rebuild that circle and find people that you trust and can confide in.
And I think the gyms do a great opportunity at providing people that are into that stuff, the opportunity to do it. Because again, like people at the gyms, they like golf, they like walks, hikes, camping. Like you'll find like-minded people in that space. And I think that that's an opportunity that the fitness industry certainly provides.
You do have to be willing, though, to put yourself out there a little bit at the gym, because I have noticed a lot of people do have their earbuds in, and it is difficult to sometimes start that conversation. So I like that you do introductions, because sometimes you don't want to go up to somebody that's got their earbuds in and they're focused on their workout.
So that's the digital bridge between the Train With Us app and the physical, is because people are more likely to send a message to someone on the first time than they are to walk up to someone. But once you send a message, it would be really weird for me to send you a message and the next day you walk into the gym and for me to ignore you.
Right. Yeah.
So as soon as I've sent you that message, the next day, even though we've never met in person, the bridge has been lowered, and the ability for me to walk over and now have a conversation with you has greatly improved.
Right. And you've established a culture at your gym that encourages it too, which
True.
is so important. Not everyone does that. Tell me when you feel most alive.
Probably right after a workout. It's kind of like a moment of bliss. The 5 minutes after a workout where you're just kind of like nothing's in your brain and you're not thinking, that's actually when I feel most alive.
Do you work out every day?
No, I'd say I'm 5 days a week. I mean, there's certainly days when things get away from me, but a solid 5 days a week. And for people who work out more than that and they get kind of scrutinized by the fact that they're overtraining, I mean, as long as they're doing it at a certain intensity, if they're doing it for mental health purposes, I actually kind of agree with it. As long as you can recover and you can reduce your intensity, and you're doing it with just the idea of like putting yourself into a social environment again.
Yeah. And you do strength training mostly?
Yes.
Yeah. What legacy do you hope you're building? Not through your business, but through the lives that you touch.
I just hope that when all is said and done, that people remember the impact that we've had on their lives, and not from a transformational perspective, but from a perspective of like belonging to something that is bigger.
What's the future of blended athletics? You going to keep it around for a while, grow it? What's your plan?
We have no plans on going to a second location. We love what we've built, and I think that we will continue to thrive the way we are today.
I love that. And finally, if you could hang out with anyone or work out with anyone, past or present, for one unforgettable conversation, who would it be and why?
It's my grandfather. I never met him, so he passed away a couple of years before I was born. But I'm constantly reminded by people that did know him how similar I am to him. And so my whole life, they've preached as him as a business owner and like how great he was as an employer and how great he was with what impact that he had in the town that I grew up in. And my mom just constantly reminds me of how much I remind her of him. And so I would love to have that chance to sit down and spend some time with him.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, Dave, one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is that health isn't just about what we eat or how often we exercise. It's also about who we surround ourselves with, the people who encourage us, the people who challenge us, the people who notice when we're missing. Maybe that's the real secret to lasting change, not finding more willpower, but finding the right people. Dave, thank you for reminding us that while fitness may bring people through the door, it's community that keeps them coming back. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Joy of the Hang. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a reminder that none of us are meant to do life alone. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, keep showing up for each other, and as always, keep hanging. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Sharon.